Denny
Good.
Grace, Thrill Ride. Hey man, what's up? What's going on?
Not much, buddy. How you doing? Actually, a lot of things, but very happy to talk to you today, man. So,
Cool,
been looking
cool,
forward to this.
cool. This interview was set up by Dr. K Productions in a collaboration with RockEyez. So I thank them, for hooking us up and stuff like that. So let's go back to the early days of Thrill Ride. Tell me a little bit about how the band got together.
Okay, so to take you all the way back, it started off as kind of like a passion project for myself. So I've been playing around here for years, 30 some years at this point. And I've always kind of been like the side guy, like a Richie Sambora kind of thing to
Right,
like lead singers around here and stuff, and which is awesome. I love that role. But I always kind of wanted to do something on my own just to see if I could do it. And So I had a bunch of songs that I'd written, and a few on my own, a few with a co-writing partner of mine, and took about five of the ones I liked the most. I went in and started working with a guy named Tony Corelli at Deep End Studio just to see how it would come out. I figure if I didn't like the way it came out, wouldn't release it. It was just prove to myself either I could or couldn't do it.
right.
And so I went into the first five songs, and with a good friend of mine named Keith Thomas on drums, who's an incredible drummer. And I ended up playing everything else except keyboards and doing all the singing and the backups. And then the producer who did all the keyboards for me is amazing. So with that, I put out the first single from that, and people seem to really like it. Your friends are always going to tell you, "Hey, great" or whatever. But it started to get a little bit of attention from folks that I really didn't know that well, and I'm like, "All right, well, let me submit it." So I submitted it to 97 Underground .com, and Tom Pless over there decided to put it on, and would ended up like they do like I don't know if you're familiar with the station or not, but they do a voting thing, and
Uh-huh.
you can go in, and so it got voted all the way up to number one for a couple of weeks, which was awesome. So I was like, oh well, maybe it's time to put a band together and see if we can get this thing out and have some fun with it. So contacted a really good friend of mine around here, plays bass, named Bill Yost, and who's an incredible singer, great bass player. The drummer that played on the album came along with me, and ended up recruiting Bill's son on guitar, who's another incredible guitar player as well. And we set up a rehearsal, and the second rehearsal was second week of March in 2020. So we all know what happened then.
Right.
So so everything shut down for a while, and so when I went to put it back together, Keith wasn't interested in doing it anymore. He had some things going on, and so I talked to Bill, and Bill and I decided to put it together with another one of his sons as the drummer, and started with that a little bit, and just wasn't kind of vibing. And so Bill had a friend of his named Steven Seifert come in and play guitar, and Steve came in and we gelled perfectly, and started rehearsing, and we kind of had just like a revolving door of like drummers and another bass player, only because family gets in the way, guys have other things going on, and it just wasn't really their thing. So at that for that moment. So fast forward to where we are now. Actually, let me pause on that a sec. So during this time, this is kind of a big thing. I don't know how I skipped this.
Hmm.
Um, so Bill Yost and I were friends with a guy named Bill Chavis, who had a label here in Maryland called HighVolMusic.
Right.
And okay, do you know Bill? Are you familiar with him at all? Or
Very good friends with him. Very good.
oh, okay, yeah, I love that guy.
Yeah.
Known him for about 25 years, and so he, so Bill, unbeknownst to me, Bill Yost sent him
Hmm.
a message that said, "Hey, have you heard Denny's stuff? You should check it out." So Bill sends me a message. He's like, "Hey, I had no idea you put something out." He goes, "Can you send it to me?" I said, "Yeah, sure." So I started sending him the tracks from the first five that I did, the first EP. And Bill sent me a message back and said, if you can give me five more songs, like the first single, which is called "Did I Hear You Say," I'd like to sign you and put it out. I
Right.
was
Yeah.
like, okay, let's roll. So of course now, so everything's shut down
Right.
during times that were shut down. This was when this was all going on. I started writing, and so I wrote about another probably 11, 12 songs, and picked the five best out of that. I
Right.
went back into the studio and recorded five more songs. And we were going to take the first five from the EP, and then these new five, make it one collective album and put it out.
Right.
So when I did that with Bill Yost on bass, my friend Keith came in and played drums again, and this was same with the same guy, Tony Corelli, and the songs came out great. I had everything ready to roll, and of course, the tragic ending with Bill.
Right.
He's
Yes.
when he passed away, and
Yep.
so so we never got an opportunity to put the album out through the label, and that kind of hit me pretty hard at the time. So I was like, maybe I don't want to do this. We were still kind of in mid-flight with trying to get the right people in the band, and I was like, maybe it's just not the time for me to do this. So I took a little break from it, and got a little hair up my butt, and I was like, all right, well, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and go forward with this. So I got Steve Seifert back in. He was interested in playing still, and then by luck, there's the drummer that's currently in the band. His name's Donald Thomas. Was available. So Donald and I go way back to when I was like, man, 13, 14 years old. And he's a few years older than I was, and was playing in a local band around here. And my parents would actually take me to go see him play in clubs and stuff because he and my mom worked together. And but he was available to play, and he's kind of the reason why, aside from Kiss and my other influences as musicians, like from doing it around here, he was my main influence on wanting to do this ever, like being in a band.
Right.
So I was ecstatic that he wanted to do this, and then it just so happened that another childhood friend of mine that I've known since I was probably 5 or 6, he and I used to jam all the time back when we were kids. Was interested in playing for it too. His name's Steve Decker. So now I had the full lineup. This happened about a year ago, and actually a little over a year ago, and so we started rehearsing, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with Will Mass around here.
Yeah.
Um, Okay, yeah. So he's he does like promotions and stuff down here and helps with like local original bands, and
Right.
so he was kind enough to put us on. They put a show together the week of the M3 festival here, and he put us on the lineup with his little not little but his thing that he puts in they call it the M3 party. So we ended up playing our first show back in May of last year.
Right.
Um, yeah, and then so of course now I got bit by the bug, so now I want to play more, and
Mhm.
getting original shows right here is a little tough. It's just not the scenes hit or miss a little bit. There's
Right.
some
Yeah.
amazing yeah, there's some amazing bands around here, and we can get into that later if you want. But so anyway, so we ended up playing another show like through him, another one of his productions, and that kind of closed out the year for us for now. So now we're at a point where the I wanted to go back in. I've always had this song, the new release called "Be My Girl," that I've always wanted to go in and redo.
Right.
I did it with a songwriting partner of mine years ago named Mark Gable, and I always just kind of wanted to see if I could, like, because he sounds amazing on it. I was like, I'm just gonna see if I could do this. Just I love the song, wanted to put it out. So we went in, and it was the first time that the four of us in the current band went in and actually did it together in the studio, and we had a blast doing it, and the
Cool.
guys
Cool.
killed it.
Now, is
Yeah.
everybody from Maryland?
Yes, yeah. So we're all kind of based. Three of us, me, Steve Decker, and Don Thomas. We're all based in like Baltimore area, or where we grew up. And then our guitar player is from like northern Baltimore County. But yeah, so we're all right, probably within a half hour of each other. So
Right. Cool. Cool. Now,
yeah.
the two EPs, was it original a full-length album called Amusement Park?
So yeah, that was going to be so when I was working with Bill
Uh-huh.
Chavis with HighVol,
Right.
that's the title we had come up with, and we had artwork done. I mean, we literally had everything in the can ready to go. And within the time I got everything done, and then Bill and I was actually supposed to meet to discuss like the timelines for getting it out and everything. And the weekend before we were supposed to get together is when he got sick and went to the hospital.
Right. Yeah. Wow.
So we didn't quite get that far. So then that's why I kind of decided just to do the second 5 songs on an EP called "Light in the Dark,"
Right.
which is the title of one of the songs on the album. And I kind of just scratched the Abusement Park title, which is funny because like I love the title, I love the play on the words, but it
Right.
doesn't like, to me it didn't quite match like what we do, because like to me that's like a thrash metal or like a really
Right.
heavy band title, and I was like, but Bill really loved it. I'm like, hey, look, I can compromise. You want to put this out? By all means, let's do this. And
Cool.
at one point, yes, the two EPs were going to be combined to one and called it Amusement Park, and then that's how we were going to release it.
Cool. Cool. Now, did any of the songs reach number one or on 97 Underground?
So the first single we put out, which I had mentioned earlier, was called "Did I Hear You Say," and that reached number one for a couple of weeks. And then when I put out the second EP, we released the first single called Never Saw It Coming, and that also ended up reaching number one on 97 Underground. Very thankful that people loved it enough and, wanted to support the band enough to go in and vote on it. And I said Tom Pless over there and the guys over there have been really supportive. They've had me on a few different shows over there, and um and they actually just added Be My Girl today to the station.
I saw that. Yes, I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like the first EP came out in 2020 and then the second
Yep.
one in 2023.
Yes. Yeah. Early 2023. Yeah.
Cool, cool. I
So
just
yeah.
want to make sure that I got it right and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
can you tell me anything about your feelings towards each member of the band that are in the band right now?
So we'll start with Steve Seifert. We'll go in order by the guys that joined. So Steve Seifert, like I said, I'd never met him before when the original bass player brought him in, and he is a number one. He's a great guitar player. But he's an amazing team member of the band. Super nice guy, family guy, cares a lot about the way the band sounds, what we're doing. Brought in a lot of cool ideas for when we went in to record Be My Girl. Really creative. That's I don't I've played with a lot of guitar players in different bands over the years, and he is definitely one of my favorite guitar players I've ever had the privilege to play in a band with.
Right,
um and then Steve Decker, the bass player. So Steve and I go, like I said, we go way back to when I was like 5 years old. And when we were teenagers, Steve's house was the party house. Like we would go to Steve's house and hang out and drink and like listen to metal and or whatever was on at the time and have a good time. But Steve and I would inevitably sit down with a bass and a guitar and just kind of jam a little bit, and never thought much about it. And then didn't really pursue anything at that time. And then when I had a cover band I was putting together here in Maryland and was looking for a bass player, and I just happened to run into him at a show.
right.
Um, and we got to talking. I was like, by any chance, would you want to maybe get back out and play again? He's like, yeah, absolutely. So we did this cover band for like 4 or 5 years, and we laughed our ass off the whole time. He's one of those guys who's just funny. He's laid back, you know, can
Right.
hit you with one-liners and just zing it completely. He definitely keeps me laughing the whole time we're playing. But a great bass player. Again, had some really great ideas when he brought it in. That was the most fun for me, was when we did Be My Girl, was watching those guys and see what they brought to the table and watch them work their parts out. And
Right.
I actually didn't get to see Steve. I didn't get to see Steve, the bass player, in the studio, but he literally went in and 45. He was in, and 45 minutes later he was out. I mean, it was like that. He was great. But he's one of the guys that's like, hey, let's keep going. Let's get out there and play. Whatever you want to do. Again, another great team player. And then we get to Don. Like I said, so Don I've known since I was like 13, 14 years old,
Right. Yeah.
and he, like I said, he was a drummer, and I started out on drums. And he was a drummer as well. And so like going out to see him play in clubs, and he would take me to band practices with him, and kind of watching how the whole band works together.
Right.
That was my first taste of it, where I really looked at it and went, aside from watching like Paul Stanley and Ace Frehley and going, yeah, I want to do that. Actually getting to see it in action in person was like, wow, this is how this works. Okay, this is
Wow.
cool. Yeah, so he kind of got me on my way. And he'll tell you, and he won't take responsibility for it, but he did.
Right. Yeah.
And so over the years, like he stopped playing for a while, and then he got back into it, and we've been kind of running the same circle together in cover bands for a while, and done a few fill-ins. But he's got a great like '80s hair band tribute called Glamour Kitty
Mhm.
they're awesome to play with, and they're a lot of fun. And I love the set list. That's my my genre. And I was blown away when he wanted to do this, but it was just such a cool full circle moment, you
Right.
know. And he's another guy that's just, he's super creative. He's, just great to work with. Everybody's like really laid back. Don't have to deal with like drama, which is always like, after years and years of doing this, is like, I think probably like number one or number two on my list now of things I look
Right.
for when I want to be in a band, is what kind of drama and ego we're going to deal with. And these guys are amazing. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun the past. Like I said, we've probably been together now probably just over a year,
Uh-huh.
and and it's been some of the most fun I've had in a band. Like, and I've been like, I've been doing this a long time, so it's really nice to just have a nice, fun, easygoing situation with guys who really just want to go play and have a good time.
Cool. So you're mainly a East Coast band,
Yes, yep, all these coast guys. Yeah, for now. The ultimate goal would be to be able to travel and do this. I mean, the
right?
reality of that is tough. You really need something to hit big in order to be able to
Right,
afford something like that, especially nowadays, right? So, but I mean, there's definitely no opposition if the opportunities come up for sure.
right. Yeah. Now everything you do now is going to be in-house, self-produced, and released in-house.
So for right now, yeah, I mean, but I struggle a lot because I don't have a lot of. I mean, there's obviously tons of information out there on the internet, to find out, how to do things, how to release, how to get looked at, things like that. But I really struggle with getting that ball rolling. Like, like who do you contact? Who do you talk to? A lot of those things are who you know and,
Yeah.
and luck, obviously, right? So,
Right.
but I am so currently right now, actually, I've been kind of doing a little more research on at least trying to figure out how I can get this, Be My Girl out as a
Right.
single, to just to get heard, by some
Right.
people in the industry. So that's kind of my next step and what I'm working on at the moment. So it's definitely something I'd like to do. I
Right.
just don't know exactly how to get there yet.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah,
You guys have merchandise,
yes, we do. We have t-shirts, koozies, posters. I know I'm forgetting something, and I'm looking right at it. CDs, of course. Yeah, everything's available. I'm working on the website now to get everything up and have a merch store on the website.
right?
Um, yeah, and we'll have more coming in. Right now, we just have one kind of shirt, but I want to have a couple different designs, and so the lady that designed the TR for us, I love the design, so I'd like to get that like some different colors and different things. To have a little bit of variety, but yeah, so we do have merch for sale.
Right.
Yeah,
Cool. 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 Now I
yeah.
see on your Facebook, I see a lot of my friends on there, like Steve Minton, Curtis Sheck, um, Dave Snowden, Michelle McDaniels. Do you feel Facebook is the place to go to start promoting your band, or how can other ways you could do it?
So I think just for the fact that I have a good bit of friends on there, it's a good jumping off point.
Right.
And then that's where I kind of get lost is where else do you go? I mean, I put on our Instagram account, I put it on our like on the I put a couple things up on TikTok and stuff, and just it's like doing the research to learn how to promote all that is
Right.
what
Yeah.
kind of where I struggle the most. And I'm not the best with asking people to go, hey man, can you help me out?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like like in case in point with Bill Chavis, I knew he had a label.
Right.
I just never didn't feel comfortable enough to go, hey man, would you want to check this out? Maybe see what you could do for me.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, but I know like in this industry, that's a lot of that. You have to do that.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, so I'm learning as I go.
Right.
So
Well,
yeah.
Dr. K Promotions is helping pretty much. Seems like they're always reaching out to people.
Oh yeah, she's been great. She's trying. I mean, industry people can be a little, little weird sometimes, I guess, but she's doing everything she can, and I'm very fortunate for everything she's been able to do for me so far. She's
Right.
been a big proponent on me on trying to get more songs like on 97 Underground and working with again Tom
Mhm.
and she's trying to reach out to other areas, to get the band noticed and get interviews and things like that. So I mean, I really appreciate everything she does. She's been great.
Cool, cool. Do you feel that going with an indie label or doing it yourself, which one's better?
Um, the lazy side of me would love an indie label, so I don't have to do all the work, you
Right.
know.
Yeah, definitely.
but I'm totally fine like doing it self promotion wise. I just need to learn how to get better at it.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, I actually actually I'm wearing their shirt right now. The band Silver Tongue I was in years ago, and they're still out there, still doing it. The singer's been, keeping lineups together and trying everything he can, and he's learned a lot over the years. So he and I are supposed to get together and kind of give me some pointers on at least how to get things heard, or at least to the right people, and and see where we can go from there. Still working on like a full like EPK. Like we still need to get some band photos done, and I want to do a couple of videos for the songs.
Uh,
So I'm kind of lying in wait to really jump at getting it out there fully until I have like a full package together to
Right. Yeah.
actually really, to really push the band in like a professional light, So,
Yeah.
but I'm getting there. So, baby steps.
I think David Snowden worked with Silver Tongue for a while doing promotion, Snowden Productions, so
Yep.
I'm pretty sure that was the band he was promoting at the time. This was a while ago. So
Yep. Yeah.
cool, cool. Now tell me, you got a show coming up, Morseberger Tavern on February 1st. Tell me a little bit
Yep.
about
Okay.
that.
Yep. Yep. So it's a four band bill. Actually, so the headlining band is a band called Nightwind, and the drummer and I have been friends for a long time, and so we've
Uh,
been trying to put a show together. But sadly, the cover the band I'm playing a cover band as well called Kanye Twitty, and that schedule gets a little rough sometimes trying to even things out so I can get these shows for through a ride plus still have the Kanye schedule. So Steve, the drummer from Nightwind, and I've been trying for about 6 months now to get a show together. We finally were able to line one up. And it was his suggestion, I believe, to put me on this thing. Funny enough, there's also a band called Life Denied playing who I've never seen before, so I'm really looking forward to seeing them. And then there's a band playing with us as well called Sly Grin, who oddly enough, their singer has actually was a childhood friend of mine as well from back when I was 5. So he actually knows me and
right.
Steve Decker and Thrill Ride. So I'm really looking forward to that. And seeing him again. He's a great singer. His name's AJ Brzezko. I'm really looking forward to seeing him play too. Yeah, so it's going to be a fun night. I hadn't played multiple band bills in a long time, and I forgot how fun they are to just like see something different.
Cool.
And that's been that's been my favorite thing about doing the original show so far is that I've seen and become friends with these bands that like I really wouldn't have known otherwise.
Right. Yeah.
And there's some really great talent out there. I mean, there's a couple bands from like the Jersey area that we played with that have been fun. Or Philly. I think they're from the Philly area. Sorry, name called Rat Rod.
Right.
Those guys are awesome. There's a band called ZFL from here, like that's actually up here in Northern Maryland. Those guys, they're heavy as hell, but man, are they good.
Wow.
Yeah, we played with some really fun bands. Electric Circus, which I think is like a Jersey Philly band. Those guys were a lot of fun. Or no, Cream Circus. Sorry, not Electric Circus. And those guys were a lot of fun. A really cool '70s vibe to them. Yeah, so like I say, it's been really. That's probably my favorite thing so far about these live shows is getting to see like some really cool bands that I've never heard of before.
Right. Yeah. So do you collect anything besides Kiss?
Well, that's on the walls at the moment, but
That's why. That's why I asked. Yeah.
that's the majority of my stuff.
Uh-huh.
I collect a little bit of everything. Like I've got like a stack of posters that I want to get in frames and get up, and it's all I mean, mostly '80s hairband stuff. I was fortunate enough. I have a friend of mine. Like I know we'd spoken earlier, but a friend of mine had a drummers publication here in Maryland, and when I met him, like he was still going to shows and doing interviews with these bands and
Right.
for the publication. So I was fortunate enough to be able to go with him. So be able to go and meet like all these artists that like I would have never had a chance to meet. Everybody from like Poison to Tesla to Cinderella, Van Halen, which is Van Halen was my favorite experience. As much as I love Kiss, being
Right.
able to sit with Eddie Van Halen for 5-10 minutes and just talk shop was probably the high,
Right.
outside of my family was probably the highlight of my life. It was incredible. So I collect like yeah, I saw your post. Like I collect guitar picks. I don't
Uh-huh.
have anywhere near the collection you have, but I have like guitar picks, drumsticks,
Uh-huh.
yeah, but like I said the majority of my stuff has been Kiss stuff. Of course, them being the kings of merchandise, it's like
Right.
kind of easy to. That's like the low hanging fruit to collect.
Cool. Cool. So, what's your feeling about everybody wanting vinyl now?
Oh, I don't know if I don't know if you can see it or not, but actually, just below the Kiss stuff is all my vinyl stuff.
Uh-huh.
So
Cool.
I love it. I think my favorite thing about it is like it just makes me feel like I'm a kid again.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's like I first, well, of course, first few albums I bought were Rick Springfield and Kiss. Like when I started collecting again, and those are my two biggest influences and reasons I ever wanted to play.
Right.
So just sitting on my floor with the albums and just looking at the artwork and everything, and that the warmth of like the vinyl, which I never really paid that much attention to. Don't think about it as a kid because there wasn't
Yeah.
really much of an alternative.
Yeah.
And then of course CDs kind of like crisp, it made everything crisp. And then you go back and listen to the vinyl, it's like man, this is nice, much warmer, and
Right.
it's
Yeah.
just so fun to look at the liner notes and the album covers. Yeah, it's that's definitely like as much as I love just the music, like I love having that physical product in my hands and being able to just study it, and just listen.
Wow.
So I
So
love it. How about you?
cool. What was the first concert you ever attended?
Rick Springfield in 1983. So on the Success Hasn't Spoiled Me Yet tour, and
Right. Yeah.
yeah, and didn't know much about Beatlemania when I was a kid, but listening to all the people recount about when they saw the Beatles and all they heard was like a high pitch like
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
scream. Yeah, the whole show was just that. But
Yeah.
between Kiss, seeing that show, and then like I said, going to see Donald Thomas play, like that solidified everything for me. I
Yeah.
was like, man, I want to be up there. I want to do this. I want, I mean, at the time I was a drummer and I couldn't care less. I just wanted to get up on stage and play.
Cool.
And yeah, but that show and again the Great Kin Band opened up, so like
Oh yeah.
that show is etched in my mind, like man probably will be forever.
Cool. Cool. Yeah. I got to photograph actually Rick Springfield back in the '80s. So I got really lucky. It was a great time.
Awesome.
I think it might have been Working Class Dog. I'm not sure, but
Oh, cool.
that
Yeah.
that was a fantastic show. I saw them at the Capitol Theater in Passaic, New Jersey. It was
Oh,
amazing. I also saw
awesome.
I also saw Kiss there in
Nice.
'75. So it was
Oh
like
yeah, just rub that in.
a day. Yeah, it was a day show, a matinee, and a night show the same day. You
Oh,
know,
yeah, I forgot they used to do those. Yeah.
yeah. So
Mm,
it was great. So
yeah.
what's your favorite time in music for yourself? What's the biggest goal you reached?
Um. So the biggest show I've ever played was So the cover band that I'm in originally started as a country band.
Right.
Well, I wasn't in it when it started. And the singer was actually signed to Sony
Mhm.
for a short while. Ended up getting dropped before he was able to put out an album. But when I joined the band, he was still pushing a lot of his original stuff. So
Right.
we won a contest here in Maryland to open up for Kenny Chesney at M&T Bank Stadium.
Mhm.
And that stage was huge. Like I felt like I needed an oxygen mask once I ran from one side to the other. And there's nothing like seeing your big old head up on like a 100 foot
Yeah. Yeah.
100 foot screen.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they said we opened the show, and it was like two or three in the afternoon, I think it was, and they had said by the time that we had played that they had let in around 20,000 people
Wow.
in a stadium that didn't look like a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, the floor seemed packed, and I
Right.
mean, but the stands, like stands and sections were so sparse, I could actually see where my parents were, like on the 50-yard line, like halfway out.
Wow.
Um, but yeah, but that was the biggest show, for sure. Uh, as far as so show wise, that's my biggest accomplishment. My biggest accomplishment, period, for me, I think though, is just getting that first EP out, and just proving
Right.
to myself that that I could do it and didn't embarrass myself, and people really
Right.
seemed to like it and like the songwriting and the playing, and that was huge for me because don't always have the highest self esteem.
Right.
So really like being able to hear people's reactions to it and people really liked it was like that really kind of helped me like realize that I've worked hard for a lot of years and it was nice to see a little bit of payoff, just emotionally. Not I really could care less about the money. I have a day job for that, but it would be nice. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, those two things for me were probably the biggest accomplishments and the biggest wins for me over and aside from that, probably all the relationships I've made over the years. I mean, I saw a meme the other day. It was like, if it wasn't for, like music is responsible for like pretty much all my friendships.
Right.
Met my wife through playing in a band. I bonded with my cousins over music, Kiss, and all the bands we loved, and it's like it's always just been there, and it's always seemed to be a catalyst for almost every relationship that I've ever had that's meant the world to me.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah,
Now
like for
you
sure.
got new material coming out besides the new single that just came out today, "Be My Girl."
So I don't have anything in the can at the moment. I do have a lot of ideas that we're fleshing out. I actually played one for the guys about a month back that they really liked, and we kind of put it on the back burner in order to put "Be My Girl" out. But we're going to get back to that as well. I've been kind of pushing the guys a little bit to go, hey, what do you guys have? And let's work on some stuff that you guys have as well. And because
Right.
those poor guys had to come in and basically learn everything I put down, prior to them getting into the band. So, I really want them to be a part of everything, like the songwriting and, obviously the recording and, then, the guys are great live and, it's they I again I can't express enough how much fun and how much I appreciate these guys like wanting to do this because again like trying to find guys who it's like going to somebody going, hey, you want a job, I'm not going to pay you. It's kind of like that, and I'm just I really love the fact that these guys really just want to do this just for the fun of it, and and the experience of playing something different than the same 40 covers that every band's playing around here, and so
Right,
yeah, so we will have stuff coming. Going to be probably a little bit, but I would hope to get at least a couple more songs out this year, and I'm trying to weigh the balance of do we just do singles or do we
right,
wait and do like another EP? I put Be My Girl on the EP as well. And then what direction do we take? Because I don't know how much of the stuff you've listened to, but there's a few different kind of feels to the songs. Like there's
right,
very steeped in the '80s, obviously, because that's where I came from and what I love. But there's kind of like one song's got like a Black Crowish kind of, I
right,
think,
yeah,
feel to it.
uh-huh,
And then of course, Be My Girl is like a full on to me it sounds like Rick Springfield, but you just turn the guitars up kind of feel to it.
right, yeah,
Yeah, so it's kind of like that balance of, do we keep branching out and trying different things, or do we kind of pick an avenue and run with it? Um, I kind of like having a little bit of leeway in the kind of stuff we write and put out. And I think it keeps it interesting and fresh.
uh-huh,
Um, but then I look at AC/DC and they put out the same album for 40 years and
okay,
still awesome. So yeah.
definitely. Okay, can you tell me anything about the owner of the radio station, Tom? How much does he help you guys out?
So Tom's been pretty instrumental in getting us heard, for sure. I said he took a, he's I don't know how many stations there are out there in the world that do this for like your local original bands. Like,
Right,
they're always putting out something new. Every week, every week or two, like there's a new playlist
right,
that people vote on. And just because your song like leaves the playlist doesn't necessarily mean they take it off the air. Like, so he's still playing. Did I hear you say? And still playing. Never saw it coming. I still hear him from time to time. He's been great about he has different shows on the air.
right,
With like different guys have different shows. And I've been on two or three different shows on there, and those guys have been amazing with their support. They're always, as soon as I put something out, they're usually in touch, going, "Hey, do you want to come on?"
right,
So actually, I need to contact one of them this week because he'd mentioned before when I had something out to call him. But Tom's been great. He let's see, he just put Be My Girl out too as well. He's always willing to like make ads for you and for your shows. Like I have one running right now for the Morseberger show.
right,
Yeah, he's been very helpful, and it's wild because like I've been listening to this station since I was probably 15, 16 years old.
yeah,
When it was on like a little like I mean you really had to like almost go up on the roof and hold the radio up to hear it. But I mean I was introduced to so many bands to that station. Like I mean like King Diamond and like King Diamond's the biggest one for me. Like that I because like when I heard it I'm like what the hell is this? And I
yeah,
went and looked it up and I'm like oh he's like Kiss but heavier with a really crazy voice. All right, I'm in.
oh,
And like actually a lot of the heavier stuff like that I like I kind of like got from there.
right, yeah,
Like so yeah, so Tom but Tom as far as like being supportive, I mean he's really good with giving bands a chance on that station. And then I've told him multiple times and I'll tell him here again, how appreciative I am that he gave me a chance and
right.
still willing to do so. Yeah,
Cool, cool.
he's been great.
Well, Denny, it was great talking to you. Thanks again to Dr. K Productions. And would you like to say anything to the fans out there in conclusion?
Hey everybody, I want to say thank you guys so much for all the support on the new single, all the things we've done so far. Come out to the shows. There'll be more this year. Like I said, stop by, say hi, come see something new. That's my biggest thing for like people coming to these shows, not just to see us, but the cover band circuit around here is so huge that like, you're going to see all these bands who are amazing in their own right play the same 50 songs, over and over. It's
Mhm.
kind of refreshing every now and then to get out and just see something a little different because there's a lot of talent out here trying to do something different and trying to get noticed and trying to get songs out. And it's really important that people come see it, because you never know when you're going to discover your next favorite band. or your next favorite song, right? So, but anyway, but that being said, I really do appreciate everybody's interest and support and love for what I've done so far, and hopefully that continues and grows as we keep going here. So
Cool.
thank you, everybody. I appreciate it.
Thanks a lot for the chat, and make sure everybody go check out the new single, "Be My Girl."
Brian, thanks so much, man. It's been great talking to you.
No problem. Bye bye.
All right, take care, buddy.